So we've come on live many times, hand pollinating dragon fruit in all hours of the night, in the dark, very rarely during the day. Let's talk about why we have to hand pollinate and some people don't. Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California, and I've had some questions about dragon fruit. Why do we have to hand pollinate dragon fruit? Well, there are many varieties and even hybrid types of dragon fruits, but we have the white one. Now, the white dragon fruit has the stamen. When the flower opens, I'm going to say on the outside, but look carefully at the photos and you'll see in the videos where it comes out from the center. So let's explain the flower. The flower is a large, white, beautiful flower, kind of like an orchid in a way, but huge. Inside, you can see all that in the center with all the yellow in there. That is the pollen. That's where the bees actually get into and sometimes rob too much of the pollen, where we do need the pollen. All right, so the pollen is on the inside of the flower. Now the issue is the stamen that neats the pollen is on the outside of the flower. So the pollen's on the inside and the stamen's on the outside. Now here in California, we don't really have the proper insects or bats that would normally pollinate this flower, which opens up at night. Probably doesn't want the bees in there. Certain critters they don't want in there. The flower is looking for something special that's going to go in there at night, crawl into or feed on the pollen, and then maybe try to reach some nectar. There may or may not be nectar inside the stamen, but whatever's going to it, let's say a bat, small bat with a long tongue, it may not know that. Just like hummingbirds picking around different flowers, they're looking for nectar. But not all flowers are equal. Some have lots of nectar and some do not. So let's say that bat is looking for nectar, whether it's there or not, but he's already licked up some of that pollen. He will get the pollen inside the stamen. The white variety that we grow and we eat and we love, tastes wonderful. Well, that one does have to be hand pollinated because there's nothing here that's really going to do it. Occasionally, we'll have, let's say, 10 fruit and we don't pollinate them. One might make it. But when you hand pollinate it, as Gary's hand pollinating it with the brush, he gets inside and he collects the pollen, which he also collects and keeps in the refrigerator for another night when he has a lot of pollen. It's good to collect a lot of pollen from different flowers and then go to flowers with it. You can mix it up and then go back on a night that they open and pollinate it. Well, it's good when you hand pollinate it because you get that little brush inside the stamen. Here, we might be lucky enough for some little insect to do it, or maybe they open at the wrong time. Now, normally we can look at our flowers and see, oh, they're going to open tonight, but they're not quite open. They're just starting to peek. You can almost see that yellow inside. That's when we know that when the sun goes down and it's really dark, usually around 10 o'clock at night, they start to open. They're absolutely magnificent. And that's when he goes out there and he's hand pollinating. 11, 12. Come morning, the petals start to soften. And you can see that they don't look right. Well, you could still try to pollinate at that time in the morning once the sun comes up, but I think it's kind of like you missed it. They won't all take. That's why it's good to do it at the right time, which is in the middle of the night. And as the flower almost melts away, kind of sags down, it will start to dry. If you were successful when you hand pollinated it, within days, you will see the base of the flower, green, will start to swell a little and it will stay green. That's a good thing. If it starts to go yellow and it goes off color, that means it probably did not get pollinated. And at that point, there's nothing you can do. You can't go back. But it's something you know which ones are going to make it. Sometimes they're really big. They're bigger than a baseball. And then other times they're smaller. But you know what? I will tell you, even the small ones that are a little bit smaller than a baseball are just as sweet and just as good. We also have the purple variety, which have not flowered yet. That one too has the stamen on the outside of the flower. So that will have to be hand pollinated when it starts to throw flowers if we want fruit. We also have the red variety. And now that one is completely different. The stamen, the part that needs to get the pollen inside that tube, is deep inside the flower. So when the flower opens, it sits inside. And that is what's really cool, because the pollen, just in the wind, just moving around, will fall. Enough will fall into the stamen. So that one is what they call self-pollinating. The point is, you may not want to hand pollinate for whatever reason. If they get too high up in the air, like in Gary's garden, you're climbing on ladders, you could always trim it, grow them in buckets or containers, and keep them small. But if you don't want to hand pollinate, then you want to get a variety that's called self-pollinating. If it doesn't say self-pollinating, then the odds are you'll have to hand pollinate it. It's easy to grow. You can do them in containers. Mine are all in containers. Gary's got some in the ground and in containers, so he's got them both ways. So it's a nice plant to have anywhere, even on a patio. Just keep it a little sheltered, keep it out of a freezing cold weather, and you should do okay. So you take the pollen from one flower to another so that it gets pollinated by different flowers?
Not necessarily, but this flower here's got a lot of pollen, or it's dropped down on the petal, so it's easy to find. So I don't know if you can see the yellow there, but it's easy to pick it up off this one, where this one's kind of more upright, like a tulip, so it's probably all the way down the bottom. It's just easy.
That's a perfect one to show the stamen and the pollen. I can see it perfect in the light. You can really see how that one is way up high, and that the ones that are self-pollinating, it's all inside. Look at that. If you don't shine the light too much on it, you can see it good. Right there, that's perfect if you want to point them out.
Okay, so that's the male and the female.
And the one that's self-pollinating would be deep in, that would be way down.
Yeah, that would be way down.
Isn't that something? So was that man-made, basically? Or
no,
selective?
A different species.
A different species. Okay.
And they have cross-pollinated them. Yeah, they have hybridized some.
Okay. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Remember, they're spiky.
I know. I know. I get caught on them all the time.
This one here is ready to be harvested. Now, going by the wings, or these pieces that come across the top like that, this is turned brown, and if you look at the other two, this one's still green, and the one over there is still green.
Okay, so this one over here.
Yeah, the wings are still green. They're starting to turn brown, so when they all start to turn brown, that will be when they're at peak brightness. And if you give it a gentle squeeze, this is still hard and firm. And this one here is softer. It's got a little bit of a give to it. And to harvest them, you just simply carefully just give them a bit of a twist, and that's it.
So with that, have a wonderful day. Oh, they're so good to eat. And don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye.